Welcome to my podcast with my buddy Charlie Spears. My argument is that video games have a detrimental effect on college students' academic success. And I'm going to be introducing a few topics and asking Charlie if he has any insight on those topics. I think there's a general idea that GPAs are lowered when students play a lot of video games. And according to two studies I found, one said that GPAs were lowered by an average of 0.25 points when students played a lot of video games, and the other was from a med school, and those students' GPAs were lowered by about 0.5, and that can be the difference between getting a scholarship and not having a scholarship. So if you need a scholarship at a 4.0 and you have a 3.1 or a 4.1 and you start playing video games and you drop that 0.25, then you're out of that scholarship and you're going to have to find a way to pay without that scholarship. So, Charlie, have you noticed any drops in your GPA or your grades being lowered or having to try harder in classes when playing a lot of video games?
Yeah, I mean, last semester definitely I was playing more video games than I should have been probably. So it was definitely taking a toll on my grades because I would opt to do that over doing homework, Thankfully, I've made it through all right.
Yeah.
But I did come pretty close to losing a couple scholarships.
Awesome. I mean, not awesome, but I'm glad you kept your grades high enough.
Yeah.
I also found a few studies of graduation rates being lower when students play a lot of video games. So I found one study that was students who play a lot of video games compared to students who don't graduate 8% less. And then there was another study that had the same sort of parameters, and those students had a graduation rate of 10% less. So I think that's pretty significant. 1 out of 10 students who play video games not graduating just because they wanted to play video games. So Charlie, do you have any personal experience with that? I know you're only a freshman, but do you have any friends who have dropped out or not graduated because they played a lot of video games?
Personally, for me in high school, which is a lot less competitive than college because you're not paying as much, but there were a few people that they didn't drop out, but they talked about it, dropping out and becoming like a YouTuber or something like that.
Yeah.
But a couple of my friends in college actually have dropped out to go on to continue a lifestyle of like building computers or something like that, so that they could play video games more. So I have seen it happen. I think one of my buddies did.
Okay. Yeah, and that can also be a waste of money too if you're putting all that money into video games and not really making anything out of it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, sleep deprivation is a common thing among college students. Video games can only add on to that. So I found 2 or 3 studies about video games and college students and how it decreases their sleep and causes them to stay up later because they say, oh, let's play one more game, and then that one more game turns into 5, and it's 3 in the morning and you still have 5 assignments due, and then you end up staying up all night. One of the studies did a study on kids with early classes, so like 8 a.m.s, the dreaded 8 a.m., which people don't even make who don't play video games. And it was like students who play video games don't make 50% of their 8 a.m.s, which is really rough. So missing half of your classes for a semester can be really detrimental to your grades. So Charlie, how often have you slept through a class because you've played too many video games the night before?
I'd say about 25%.
Okay, so on the lower end of that scale.
I'm good at getting up when I don't want to, but there were a few times where it just
Too much.
just fell back asleep.
That's all right. Have you noticed any nights where you've had to stay up later because you had an assignment due the next morning, but you played too many video games that day?
Yes, absolutely. Pretty much every night.
All right. That concludes our interview. Thank you, Charlie, for being here, and hope y'all enjoyed.